What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your stimulus package update and daily news report for Friday, February 11th. So today, President Biden is issuing a major warning to many Americans. I will address that in just a minute. We also have news regarding the stimulus package, what we are seeing not just from lawmakers, but from White House officials as well. They're now trying to change the direction of how we move forward with this upcoming stimulus package. We also know lawmakers are now in favor of passing standalone bills, and Democrats are shifting their entire plans for 2022. I'll explain all that in today's video. First off, I just want to thank you guys for watching, and if you could and you enjoy these daily uploads, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button. But let's get into the update for today. So the Build Back Better Act has stalled, and instead of trying to get Senator Joe Manchin on board by shifting different focuses and moving certain pieces of legislation, Democrats have turned their efforts to a wave of bipartisan bills. This is exactly what Senator Joe Manchin was requesting months ago, but now they're starting to do it. This includes the House and Senate. They passed legislation this week barring companies from forcing employees into arbitration proceedings to address sexual assault. This also includes the $50 billion in funding towards the United States Postal Service. This was originally going to be voted on in the Senate today. However, there was a little bit of an issue. I guess they're calling it a clerical error, but the Senate might not be able to vote on this until potentially next week. So this is still expected to pass, but as of right now, it's simply delayed. The interesting part about all this, though, Democrats, they're not coming forward and telling the American people what they're doing in this case. They're simply doing it, and then they're going to celebrate what they pass when the bills ultimately pass. Now, this is a huge shift because before, and we saw this for months, Democrats would celebrate what they might pass, and then they would apologize to the voters and the American people after they didn't get the support from other members of Congress. And that's, according to reports, that is not the way to pass bills. But Senator Brian Schatz from Hawaii, he had this to say the other day. Now, I think he paints a pretty good picture of what's happening, but this is what he says, and I quote, "We're lawmakers, not law suggesters. And to the extent that people wanted to put Democrats in charge so they can achieve some sense of normalcy in their government, they're seeing a functional legislative branch. And so I think that's positive." Yes, getting to a point where the Senate and the House can pass legislation. That's what they're there to do. They're not there to just bicker and argue for months on end. They're there to make the United States the best country in the world. And so far, according to many reports, Americans do not believe that's what's been going on for the past, not just the past year under President Biden, but even under the past 4 years under former President Donald Trump and the Trump administration. So there's been a huge divide for the last 5+ years. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But this is what Republican Senator Susan Collins had to say just the other day as well. And I quote, "What the Democratic leaders seem to have finally realized is that in a 50-50 Senate, the only way you're going to be able to produce any accomplishments that matter to the American people is to work across the aisle. All of a sudden, there is sincere Democratic participation." That is key. And I think this is key because we've been waiting for so long. President Biden promised, even I believe it was in his inauguration speech, he said he was going to unite the country. He was going to bring Congress together. They were going to work across the aisle. And the first thing he did was a budget reconciliation bill that did not include any Republicans. So, this is really good, but this is what this means. Anything regarding the Build Back Better Act is going to need bipartisan agreement. And we're not going to see that. Right now, most of the bill does not have any bipartisan support. This means the entire bill will need to be overhauled to get acceptance from the Republican Party, but Democrats are not going to do that. But one thing we heard this morning from the Washington Post is that White House aides are weighing deficit reduction as a way to revamp the economic plan to get Senator Joe Manchin on board. And this is big. We've seen this over the past few weeks that Senator Joe Manchin, he's been somewhat flip-flopping, which is making many lawmakers very upset. But one thing he's done is he's been very consistent with saying that he is not going to pass a bill that, one, increases inflation, or two, adds to our national deficit. So that's big. But one aide to a senior White House official said this, and I quote, "A lot of people in the White House are spending time looking at what they do to make deficit reduction central to Build Back Better, with the strategy of appealing to an audience of one, more so than at any other time in this administration. Deficit concerns are driving a lot of policy and rhetoric inside the building." But this is what's currently being discussed. And this is interesting because even though we're still in the initial phases, and this is just a report that came out this morning, so we do not have Senator Joe Manchin's take on this yet, but this bill that they are considering would include $500 billion for climate programs. It would include $400 billion in healthcare initiatives, and then a sweeping tax hike bill that would curb the national deficit by $800 billion over the next 10 years. That's what it's going to include. As to what pieces, what provisions are included into that, we don't know. But that would be the framework of it. Now, chances are this wouldn't include a child tax credit payment. There'd be no stimulus checks. There'd probably be nothing for state and local governments. They already have excess money. There's no free community college. And much of the Build Back Better Act probably won't be in here as well. But it would have pieces of it. And that's the key. So, one thing I can tell you is the Build Back Better Act, as of right now, isn't dead. It's not dead. They're still discussing it. They're still trying to get this passed. But when? When does it pass? We don't know. But in other news, let's talk about something outside of the Build Back Better Act and additional stimulus. Here's what we are being told by President Biden. President Biden is warning all Americans in Ukraine to get out immediately. He says that the situation in Ukraine is going to get much worse very soon, most likely in the next coming days, as Russia doesn't look like they'll be backing down. Now, he has said there is no situation whatsoever where he would be willing to send troops, U.S. troops, into Ukraine to help rescue Americans attempting to exit. And he said, and I quote, "That's a world war when Americans and Russia start shooting at one another." So just to give you an idea, it doesn't mean the United States wouldn't send or wouldn't ask other countries to help rescue American citizens in Ukraine, but he is not going to send U.S. troops into Ukraine to go and rescue Americans when he's been telling them for almost a month to get out and seek shelter. So that's what we know at this time. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot happening this morning and throughout this entire week. I will try to fill you in on everything that's going on later on today and also this weekend. So if you can, make sure you stick around and watch more videos today as well. Also, make sure you click that subscribe button down below so that you never miss an update. But that's what we know at this time. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all latest news and updates. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.